This is quantum amnesia. Your ego, which is invested in maintaining continuity of identity, tries to convince you that the shift wasn't real, that you're still the same person you've always been, that nothing has fundamentally changed. That's a lie. The shift was real. It happened. You did leap to a new timeline. You just need to trust that and stay in the frequency of the new timeline, even when your ego is screaming that nothing's different. Welcome to the reality revolution. This is the instantaneous shift activation. Do not listen to this unless you're prepared to experience an instantaneous shift. Picture this. A man is sitting in his car at a red light. Just an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. He's thinking about his bills. The mortgage is overdue. His business is failing. His relationship is falling apart. He's exhausted, defeated, wondering how it all went so wrong. The light turns green. He presses the accelerator, and in that exact moment, not 5 minutes later, not the next day, not after weeks of therapy and self-work, in that exact moment, something inside him clicks. It's not a thought. It's not a decision. It's more like a sudden recognition, a quantum shift in his entire being. 1 second, he's drowning in despair. The next second, he knows, not hopes, not believes, but knows that everything is about to change. He can't explain it. There's no logical reason for this knowing. Nothing in his external circumstances has shifted. The bills are still unpaid. The business is still struggling. The relationship is still strained. But he is different, completely different, as if he stepped into an alternate version of himself who sees everything from a totally new perspective. 3 days later, a business opportunity falls into his lap out of nowhere. Within 2 weeks, his financial situation has completely turned around. Within a month, his relationship is transformed. Not through years of couples counseling, through the shift that happened at that red light. The shift that took less than a second. 6 months later, he looks back and realizes that his entire life pivoted in that moment. Everything changed instantaneously. Not the circumstances. Those took a little time to rearrange themselves, but him, his consciousness, his frequency, his timeline, that changed in less time than it takes to snap your fingers. Here's what nobody tells you about transformation. It doesn't take time. We've been conditioned to believe that change is gradual. The healing is a process. That manifestation requires patience, that you need to do the work, put in the hours, climb the ladder, step by step. And that's not entirely wrong. Sometimes change does appear to unfold over a long period of time. But that's not because time is required for the change. It's because your belief that time is required creates a timeline where change unfolds gradually. Let me say that again because it's crucial. Time is not the obstacle to your transformation. Your belief in time is the obstacle. In the quantum field, there is no time, or more accurately, all time exists simultaneously. The past, present, and future are happening right now in this eternal moment. Which means that the version of you who is already healed, already abundant, already in love, already living your purpose, that version exists right now, not in the future, now. And shifting from who you are now to who that version is doesn't require a journey through time. It requires a quantum leap, an instantaneous collapse from one probability wave to another. When you change your mind about something, how long does that take? The actual moment of change, not the thinking that leads up to it, but the moment where your perspective shifts. How long is that moment? It's instantaneous. 1 second you believe one thing, the next second you believe something else. There's no transition period, no gradual morphing from old belief to new belief, just snap, change. That's because consciousness doesn't operate in linear time. Consciousness is quantum. It can leap from one state to another without passing through the states in between. And if consciousness can shift instantaneously, and consciousness creates reality, then reality can shift instantaneously too. But if instantaneous shifts are possible, and they are, why don't we experience them more often? Why does change seem to take so long for most people? Because we've been programmed to believe in gradual change, and that programming creates resistance to instantaneous shifts. Think about all the messages you've internalized. Rome wasn't built in a day. Good things come to those who wait. Slow and steady wins the race. Healing takes time. You can't rush the process. Be patient. Patience is a virtue. These aren't universal truths. These are beliefs, and beliefs create reality. When you believe that change takes time, you create timelines where change takes time. You collapse probability waves that require duration, not because the universe requires it, but because you do. And the sneaky part, the belief that changes take time actually feels responsible. It feels mature, it feels realistic. Someone tells you they had an instantaneous healing or an overnight financial transformation. Part of you is skeptical. Part of you thinks they're exaggerating, or there's a catch, or lying, or delusional, because instant change doesn't fit your model of reality. What if your model of reality is just one possibility? What if there are other models where instantaneous shifts are not only possible but normal? There's also something else going on, something deeper. Most people are actually afraid of instantaneous change, because if things can change for the better in an instant, that means they can also change for the worse in an instant, and that feels unsafe. So we create this illusion of stability through linear time. We tell ourselves that things change slowly because that gives us a sense of control. If change is gradual, we see it coming. We can prepare. We can manage it. But that sense of control is false, because life doesn't change instantaneously all the time. Accidents happen in seconds. Heart attacks strike without warning. People fall in love at first sight. Businesses collapse overnight. Cancers go into spontaneous remission. The universe is already operating on instantaneous shifts. We are just pretending it isn't, because the alternative is too much for our control-addicted egos to handle. Let me explain what's actually happening when an instantaneous shift occurs, because understanding the mechanism makes it infinitely easier to create them deliberately. In quantum physics, particles exist in superposition. That means they exist in all possible states simultaneously until they are observed. The act of observation collapses the superposition into one definite state. Your life is the same way. Right now, you exist in superposition. All possible versions of you exist simultaneously in the quantum field. The healthy you and the sick you, the wealthy you and the broke you, the happy you and the lonely you, the fulfilled you and the searching you. They all exist right now, not as future possibilities, as current realities in parallel timelines, at a minimum in the field of information that's around you. And which one you experience, which timeline you collapse into your conscious awareness, is determined by your observation, by where you place your attention, by what frequency you're vibrating at. Most people keep observing the same reality over and over. Your current reality creates the ongoing reality. You wake up and immediately check, am I still broke? Yep. Still sick? Yep. Still alone? Uh-huh. And by checking, by observing, you collapse the same probability wave you collapsed yesterday, so nothing changes. Here's what's possible. You can stop observing your current reality and start observing a different one. You can shift your attention from the timeline where you're broke to the timeline where you're abundant. Believe me, I know, I'm telling you, that's what happened to me. You can move from the timeline where you're sick to the timeline where you're healthy. It's just like that, and it takes just an instant. And the shift from one timeline to another doesn't take time. It's instantaneous, because you're not traveling through time. You're leaping across timelines, and timeline leaps are quantum events. It's like changing channels on TV. Channel 3 and Channel 7 are both broadcasting simultaneously. They're not waiting for Channel 3 to slowly transform into Channel 7. You're just switching your receiver to a different frequency instantly. That's what instantaneous shifts are. You're changing the channel of your consciousness, and when you change the channel, you experience a different reality. Every instantaneous shift begins with a moment of sudden recognition. A moment where you see something you couldn't see before, where you know something you didn't know a second ago, where reality reorganizes itself into a completely new pattern. The Buddhists call this kensho, a sudden awakening. The Christians call it being born again. The mystics call it enlightenment, but you don't need to have a full spiritual awakening to experience the power of sudden recognition. You've probably had these moments yourself, moments where everything suddenly made sense, where you saw the solution to a problem you'd been struggling with for months, where you understood a person's behavior in a way that completely shifted your relationship with them, where a perspective opened up that changed everything. Those weren't gradual insights. Those were instantaneous. One moment, you didn't see it. The next moment you did. And once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. That's the key to instantaneous shifts. You can't go back. Once your consciousness has made the leap, once you've been in the new perspective, once you've accessed the new timeline, there's no returning to the old way of being. You might try. Your ego might resist, but something fundamental has changed. These moments of recognition do not require years of preparation. They can happen right now. That's what I'm activating in you. They can happen as you're listening to these words. They can happen in the space between one breath and the next. Because the recognition isn't something you create, it's something you allow. It's already there in the quantum field, waiting for you to tune into it, waiting for you to shift your frequency just slightly so you can perceive what was always true but hidden from your awareness. So let's create an instantaneous shift right now together. Not a gradual transformation, not a process you'll work through over weeks and months, an actual shift that happens in this moment. Now, I know part of you might be skeptical. Part of you might be thinking, sure, I'll listen, but I've tried stuff like this before and nothing changed, and that's fine. That skepticism is just part of the old programming. We're about to shift that too. Because here's what's happening as I speak these words. I'm not just conveying information. Each sentence, each phrase is calibrated to a specific frequency. And as you listen, really listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire being, your consciousness is beginning to entrain to that frequency. You might already be noticing subtle shifts, maybe a change in your breathing, maybe a tingling sensation somewhere in your body. Maybe you've let your shoulders down for no reason. Maybe just a sense that something is different about this moment. That's your consciousness beginning to open to the possibility of instantaneous change. And that opening, that willingness to consider that instant shifts are possible, that's already the shift beginning. Because the shift doesn't happen out there in your circumstances. It happens in here, in your consciousness. And consciousness shifts instantaneously. So just allow yourself to be present with these words. Don't try to make anything happen. Don't force. Don't strain. Just listen. Just be open. Just allow. First thing we need to do is release your attachment to gradual change, because as long as part of you believes that transformation must take time, you'll create timelines where it does. So right now, I want you to bring to mind all the beliefs you have about change being slow. All the programming that says you need to be patient, that good things take time, that healing is a process. And I want you to recognize those are just beliefs, not truths, not laws of nature, just beliefs. Beliefs that you absorbed from your parents, your teachers, your culture, beliefs that have been useful in some ways but are now limiting you. Now just for a moment, give yourself permission to release those beliefs. You don't have to throw them away forever. You can pick them back up later if you want. But just for now, just for the duration of this activation, let them go. Imagine them like heavy stones you've been carrying in a backpack, and you're just setting that backpack down. Feel the lightness as you release the weight of believing that change has to be slow. And as you release that weight, you might notice something interesting happening, a sense of possibility opening up, a feeling of excitement or anticipation. Because if change doesn't have to be gradual, if shifts can be instantaneous, then everything becomes possible right now. Not someday, not after you do the work, not when you're ready, but now. Now I want you to bring your awareness fully into this present moment, because instantaneous shifts can only happen now, not in the past. That's memory. Not in the future. That is imagination. Now, in this moment, this eternal, ever-present now. Most people aren't actually present. They're thinking about what happened earlier. They're worrying about what might happen tomorrow. They're analyzing, planning, remembering, anticipating, but they're not here. And instantaneous shifts require presence, because the quantum field where all possibilities exist is only accessible in the now. So let's get present together. Notice your breathing, not controlling it, just noticing it. The sensation of air moving in and out of your body. Notice the sounds around you, whatever sounds are present. Just notice them without labeling or judging. Notice the feeling of your body, the pressure of whatever you're sitting or standing on, the temperature of the air on your skin, the subtle sensation happening throughout your physical form. And notice this awareness that's noticing, this consciousness that is hearing these words, hearing these sounds, feeling these sensations. Just notice it. This is presence. This is now. In this now, all possibilities exist simultaneously. The you who is broke and the you who is abundant, the you who is sick and the you who is healed, the you who is struggling and the you who is thriving, all are here right now, in this moment. And which one you experience is just a matter of where you place your attention. Now we're going to consciously choose to shift from one timeline to another, instantaneously. First, identify what you want to shift. Maybe it's your financial situation, maybe it's your health, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your emotional state, maybe it's your entire life's trajectory. Just pick one thing, the most important thing, the thing that if it shifted right now would change everything. Do you have it? Good. Now, I want you to notice how you feel when you think about this area of your life as it currently is. Not the story about it, not the circumstances, just the feeling, the energetic quality, the frequency. Maybe it feels heavy, maybe it feels tight, maybe it feels frustrating or sad or anxious. Just notice the feeling without judgment. This feeling is the frequency of the timeline you've been experiencing. It's the signal you've been broadcasting that keeps collapsing the same probability wave over and over. Now completely let go of that feeling. Just drop it, like releasing a rope you've been holding. Just let it go. And in the space where that feeling was, I want you to access a completely different feeling. The feeling of the problem already being solved. The feeling of already having what you want. The feeling of already being in the timeline where this area of your life is exactly as you desire it to be. In the quantum field, that timeline already exists, and the feeling of being in that timeline already exists. You're not making it up, you're tuning into it. So what does it feel like to already be healthy, to already be abundant, to already be loved and fulfilled? Feel that now, not as a future possibility, as a current reality, because in the quantum field, it is a current reality. It's just a parallel timeline that you haven't been tuned into. Let that feeling fill your entire body. Let it radiate out from you. Let it become your dominant frequency. Notice you can access this feeling instantly. You didn't have to wait. You didn't have to do anything to earn it. Just shift your attention and there it was. That instant access to the feeling, that's the instantaneous shift. It's already happened. Right now, in this moment, your consciousness has leaped from one timeline to another. Now, all you have to do is maintain this frequency long enough for the external circumstances to rearrange themselves to match your new internal state. Let me give you a powerful technique for locking in instantaneous shifts. We can call it the quantum snap. It's based on the principle in neuroscience called pattern interruption. When you interrupt a habitual pattern, a habitual thought, emotion, or behavior, you create a window of opportunity where new patterns can be installed. And the most effective pattern interruption is a sharp, sudden stimulus, something that jolts your nervous system out of its habitual grooves. So here's what you're going to do right now, or whenever you're about to make an instantaneous shift. You're going to snap your fingers. Not a gentle snap, a sharp, definitive snap, the kind that makes a loud crack. And as you snap, you're going to declare out loud, if possible, or firmly in your mind, if not, I shift now. Just 3 words, I shift now. The finger snap interrupts the old pattern. The declaration anchors the new pattern, and the combination creates a quantum leap in your consciousness. Try it. Snap your fingers and say, I shift now. Do you feel that? That's a quality of finality to it, or decisiveness, of immediacy. It cuts through all the gradual change programming and declares that the shift is happening now, not someday, now. You can use this anytime you notice yourself slipping back into the old frequencies, anytime you feel doubt creeping in, anytime you catch yourself believing that change has to be slow. Just snap, I shift now, and feel yourself leaping into the new timeline. Might seem too simple, too easy, but that's the point. Instantaneous shifts are simple, they're easy. It's only our belief that they need to be complicated that makes them seem difficult. Now you need to know about quantum amnesia. Here's what happens. You make an instantaneous shift. You leap to a new timeline. You feel completely different. You know something fundamental has changed, but then, hours or days later, your mind starts to doubt. Did that really happen? Did anything actually change? Maybe I just got caught up in the moment. Maybe it was just temporary. And if you buy into that doubt, you can actually shift back to the old timeline. Not because the shift wasn't real, but because you're re-observing the old reality, and observation collapses probability waves. This is quantum amnesia. Your ego, which is invested in maintaining continuity of identity, tries to convince you that the shift wasn't real, that you're still the same person you've always been, that nothing has fundamentally changed. That's a lie. The shift was real. It happened. You did leap to a new timeline. You just need to trust that and stay in the frequency of the new timeline, even when your ego is screaming that nothing's different. How do you do that? By remembering the feeling of the shift, by re-accessing the frequency multiple times a day, by looking for evidence of the new timeline rather than evidence of the old one. Because here's the thing, both timelines have evidence. The question is which one you're going to observe, which one you're going to collapse into your experience. If you wake up the next day and immediately check to see if you're still broke, still sick, still alone, and you find evidence that you are, that's not proof that the shift didn't work. That's proof that you're observing the old timeline. But if you woke up and immediately tune into the frequency of abundance, health, love, if you look for the evidence of the new timeline, even subtle evidence, you'll start to see it. And the more you observe it, the more it solidifies. This is why faith is so important. Not blind faith, but the faith to continue observing the new reality even before it's fully materialized in the physical form. Let's talk about specifically shifts in health, because this is where the belief in gradual change is strongest. We've been so conditioned to believe that healing takes time, that the body needs weeks or months to repair itself, that chronic conditions are by definition long-term, but spontaneous remissions happen. They are documented, they're real. Cancer disappears overnight. Paralysis reverses in an instant. Chronic pain vanishes without explanation. The medical establishment calls these anomalies, but they're not anomalies. They're demonstrations of what's always possible when consciousness shifts to the healing frequency. Your body is not a fixed object, it's a process. It's a constantly regenerating field of energy and information. Every cell in your body is replaced multiple times throughout your life. You are not the same physical body you were 7 years ago. So if your body can change gradually over time, why can't it change instantly? There's no law of physics that says cellular regeneration must be slow. That's just a belief. And when you shift to the healing frequency, which is a state of complete peace, complete trust, complete alignment with the perfection that already exists at the quantum level, healing can happen instantaneously. So if you're dealing with a health issue, I want you to try something right now. Stop thinking of yourself as sick. Stop identifying with the disease. Stop telling the story of how long you've had it and how serious it is. Just for this moment, recognize that the sick you and the healthy you both exist in the quantum field simultaneously, and you can shift from one to the other instantly. Feel what it would feel like to be completely healthy right now. Not in the future, right now. Feel the vitality, the energy, the ease in your body, the absence of pain or limitation. And then just rest in that feeling. Don't strain to make it happen. Don't doubt whether it's working. Just rest in the frequency of perfect health. That's the shift. That's the instantaneous healing frequency, and your body will respond. Maybe not all at once in ways you can see, but at the quantum level, at the cellular level, at the energetic level, the healing is already happening. Now let's talk about instantaneous shifts in your financial reality, because this is another area where people have massive resistance to instant change. We've been taught that wealth is built slowly, that you need to work hard for years, that overnight success is either luck or a scam, that money doesn't grow on trees. But people win lotteries, people inherit fortunes, people have business ideas that make them millionaires within months. People stumble into opportunities that change their financial reality overnight. So instant wealth is possible. The question is, are you tuned into the timeline where it happens to you? Most people aren't, because they're observing lack. They're constantly checking their bank account and confirming that they're broke. They're thinking about bills they can't pay. They're feeling stressed about money. And all that observation collapses the timeline where they're broke over and over again. But abundance is also a frequency, and it's available right now, not after you work harder or get a better job or save more money. Now, the abundance frequency is a feeling of already having more than enough, of being provided for, of trust that your needs are always met, of generosity and flow rather than scarcity and hoarding. Can you access that feeling right now? Can you feel, just for a moment, what it would be like to check your bank account and see more than enough, to pay your bills without stress, to make decisions based on what you want rather than what you can afford? That feeling is the abundance frequency, and when you lock into that frequency, the universe must deliver evidence of abundance, because consciousness creates reality. Here's where people get tripped up. They access the abundance frequency for 5 minutes during a meditation, and then they spend the rest of the day worrying about money, and they wonder why nothing changes. But if you can stay in the abundance frequency, not 24/7, that's not realistic, but as your dominant state, that's where you return to. If you can make abundance your baseline rather than by exception, your instantaneous shifts in financial reality become inevitable. Maybe it comes through an unexpected check. Maybe it comes through a new opportunity. Maybe it comes through a debt being forgiven. The universe has infinite ways to deliver abundance. Your job isn't to figure out the how. Your job is to hold the frequency. And what about instantaneous shifts in relationships and love? Because this is another area where we believe change must be gradual. We think we need to slowly build trust, slowly get to know someone, slowly open our hearts, slowly heal from past wounds before we can love again. But people fall in love at first sight. People have chance encounters that change everything. People experience sudden shifts in their existing relationships where everything that was tense and difficult suddenly becomes easy and flowing. So instant shifts in love are possible. The love frequency is a state of openness, of vulnerability, of complete acceptance of yourself and others, of releasing all the protective mechanisms and allowing yourself to be fully seen and fully connected. Most people aren't in this frequency because they're afraid of rejection. afraid of being hurt, afraid of losing themselves in another person, afraid of not being enough. And those fears create timelines where love is difficult, where relationships are struggle, where connection requires massive effort. But there's another timeline where love is easy, where you're magnetic to the right people, where relationships are flowing and joyful, where you're cherished exactly as you are. You can shift to that timeline right now. Feel what it would be like to be completely loved, to be seen and appreciated and valued, to be in a relationship or relationships where you feel safe and excited and alive. That feeling is available right now. You don't need to wait until you meet the right person. You don't need to wait until you heal all your wounds. You can access the love frequency now, and when you do, love will find you. Or your existing relationships will transform. Because the shift isn't in them, it's in you. And when you shift, everything around you shifts to match. What about your life purpose, your career, your sense of meaning and direction? So many people feel lost, unsure of what they're supposed to be doing, searching for their purpose, like it's some hidden treasure that requires years of soul searching to find. But purpose isn't something you find, it's something you choose. And you can choose it instantly. Right now in this moment, you could decide what you want your life to be about. You could decide what matters to you. You could decide what you want to contribute. You could decide what would make you feel fulfilled. And that decision, that instantaneous choice, is the shift. You don't need clarity about every detail. You don't need a 10-year plan. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to choose now, in this moment, what frequency do you want to operate at? What do you want your life to stand for? And once you make that choice, once you commit to that frequency, the universe will orchestrate circumstances to support it. Opportunities will appear, people will show up, doors will open. Not because you worked for years to make it happen, but because you shifted your frequency instantaneously. Now, I want you to make a commitment right here, right now. The commitment is this: I commit to living as someone who can shift instantaneously. I release the belief that change must be gradual. I embrace the truth that transformation can happen in a single moment. I trust my ability to leap across timelines. I claim my power as a quantum creator. Say it with me out loud if you can. I shift now. Feel the power of that statement, the finality, the immediacy, the absolute certainty that you have the power to change your reality in this moment. Not someday, not when conditions are right, not when you're evolved or more worthy or more prepared. Now. This is your birthright. This is your natural state. This is what you came here to remember. You are not at the mercy of linear time. You're not bound by the laws of gradual change. You're a quantum being having a quantum experience, and quantum beings shift instantaneously. So as we come to the close of this, take a moment to notice what's different. Maybe you feel lighter. Maybe you feel more expansive. Maybe you just have a sense that something has shifted, even if you can't quite articulate what. That's the instantaneous shift. It's already happened right now in this moment. As you've been listening to these words, your consciousness has been recalibrated to the frequency of instantaneous change. Now your job is to honor that shift, to maintain that frequency, to trust that the external changes are already in motion, even if you can't see them yet. And to remember, whenever you catch yourself slipping back into the old belief that change must be slow, just snap your fingers and declare, I shift now. Because you can, because you do, because you are. The instantaneous shift is not a technique you use occasionally. It's a way of being. It's how you navigate reality from this moment forward. Everything can change in a single moment, and that moment is now. Join the Reality Revolution tribe at school.com/Reality Revolution, SKOOL.com. We have live Q&As and exclusive content. It's really been one of the most amazing experiences, and I want you to join us. I'd love it if you checked out my art. You can find it at www.newearth.art. Subscribe to the music channel, the Brian Scott Musical Experience. The link is in the description. And welcome to the Reality Revolution. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm Brian Scott, and I have a huge announcement. I'm so excited to finally let you know that on February 27th at the Newark Airport Hilton, we're holding a 3-day immersive meditative experience designed to create the most profound transformation possible. We created this event specifically because so many of you couldn't make it to the LA event. We got to work, and after looking everywhere, we found the Newark Airport Hilton to be the most central and reasonably priced location. You don't just learn about timeline shifting, you actually do it. You don't just understand the concepts philosophically, you embody them. On Friday, we start with activating your pineal gland, your gateway to higher consciousness. Then you meet your higher self and learn to quantum jump into your greatest timeline. And by the end of the day, you will do my most powerful meditation where you actually become your future self from that greatest timeline. We get together for a group karaoke and sing along and a community celebration because joy and connection are just as essential to your transformation as the deep work. This is your invitation to step into the life that's calling you forward. Let's do this together. I can't wait to meet you. Once again, it's www.brianscottlive.com/February-2026.